What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York. We are back on my rooftop. It feels great to do another in-person video interview again. We're finally getting a break from Zoom, and this time we are here with one of New York City's own. We are here with Somnuri. Thank you all so much for being here.
Hey, yo, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. So the new album, Nefarious Wave, is really kick-ass. I put it on the same level of like modern, like classic sludge metal, if you will, along with bands such as Neurosis or Sleep. I really want to know like what the thought process was behind the making of the album. If each of you want to talk about like what the experience was like making this particular album.
Well, number one, thank you. Appreciate it. We had a blast making it. It really was. It had been a long time since our first record, and really just felt like we needed, give it everything we had, and really kind of just one song at a time, not think too much about it. And I don't know, each song I feel like is a different representation of what we can do, so there wasn't too much thought into the entirety until it kind of started to take shape, and I think that's when maybe some themes started to come out once we started working on lyrics and things like that. Kind of started to see a little bit more of it take shape and really maybe understand a little bit more what we had.
I agree with all that. I agree. The direction kind of comes together once there's a few songs laid down, and we knew we had a good batch and just had to really pare down some of the ideas. There's a surplus usually, and it's about selecting the best stuff.
Is there maybe like a preconceived idea that you entered the making of this album with? Like you had like a goal in mind, let's make it sound like this? Or was there I feel like the music is very raw and very organic, so was there maybe like a lot of improvising, a lot of trial and error and all that fun stuff?
We knew we wanted to sound better than the first record. I mean, we're always trying to get better at recording our own music, and we did both records in Studio G, did the drums there. And but we knew we could do better as far as like the tones. Justin started playing a baritone guitar, just increasing the fidelity essentially. But other than that, as far as the songs go, not necessarily. I think we were just letting it happen.
Yeah. You mentioned recording it at Studio G. I mean, that place is legendary. A lot of great bands have played there, a lot of great up-and-coming bands, a lot of legends as well. Working in Studio G, I mean, kind of a cliche question, but what was it like working with Studio G? Were you working with Joel down there? Or
Joel was in and out. I think he dug the band. We worked with Jeff Berner both times. He's great. And just so smooth, All the gear's great, and the rooms are... we did both rooms. The first record was the B room, second record was the A room, and sonically it couldn't be better. It's a great setting. How'd you feel?
Yeah, I think you go into a place like that and there's such a vibe, and just the smell, it's rich, and you go in there and you don't want to fuck it up. You go in there and you're like, all right, we really gotta be on our A game. Let's not waste time. Let's not waste these people's time, our own, and it really was kind of like. Bringing you to that next level of, step it up, do your best, leave a good impression when you're there, because, there's some hot players in there.
Yeah, definitely. Being also, was obviously during the time when you were songwriting, I don't know how long it was before you started tracking it in the studio, but the last nearly 2 years was definitely an inspiring time artistically. Did this era of the pandemic and this uncertainty maybe influence the sound of this, or maybe lyrics, or any sort of ideas for this album?
No, everything was done before this, but I gotta say it did feel very appropriate once the world started coming down. It was like, boy, I think this record really fits amongst the global pandemic, not in a great way, but it's just kind of appropriate for where a lot of it was. And but it did really feel like, this is a record that is meant to be out. We're going to do it the right way. Let's not put it out in the middle of a pandemic just to have it out. Let's get our ducks in a row and wait until we can come back to the world that's back together and hopefully better than it was.
Yeah, and I could finally maybe get the chance to see you live, because every time you guys have been playing live, I was always covering something else that day. So let's hope that maybe we could finally make it happen.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So is it fair to say that, like, in terms of sonically, were you was this just a direct follow-up to your previous record, maybe conceptually or sonically, or was there some new uncharted territory that you all stepped into with the making of this?
I feel like sonically it just rolls out. There's not much of a thought of like, all right, next record we need this kind of song or that kind of song. It really is just kind of what's coming out of us and what is the best of that bunch. And I think with Philippe coming in the band during this process, it really was a chance to step up the game vocally, especially on my end, and knowing that we would potentially have a chance to do harmonies and expand on that kind of sound, where the band, I think, before was a little bit one-dimensional vocally, where it was mostly me either screaming or singing one at a time and not really having the chance to bounce off of each other. I think that's what's made this record the most different, if that's right. You know?
And actually, the next question I do have for Philippe, because being that this was your first record with the band, were you kind of looking at the earlier material, being like, okay, this is how I have to play, or were you allowed to kind of bring in your own mix into the band?
Well, this is an interesting question because for the most part, Justin did all the bass on this record, man. He slayed it. I came in hot, just had to learn the songs, understand them. I came in just to play a couple of shows with them, and then just jumped right in, So I ended up throwing a bunch of random vocal harmonies when we were playing live, and the dudes were like, what is that? I'm like, dude, I don't know. It feels right. It sounds right. And they're like, yeah, all right, cool. So during the pandemic, we ended up getting back into the studio, and I recorded a couple of backup harmonies and stuff like that. Justin did as well. He came up with some great stuff. We just kind of had we put the record back under the microscope, got to look at it again, and figured, let's inject some new stuff into there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because to be fair, it sounded amazing beforehand, but, we just wanted to bring it to that next level.
Well, I've seen you also play with a couple of other bands before, and I would say also of bands of different types of styles as well. So, were you kind of going into this with a completely different mindset of creativity and almost maybe having to, relearn your instrument in a way?
Yeah, actually. In a lot of ways, it was a lot of that, because this band is a lot more involved than any other band that I've been in, right? The music is not easy. It's not... it's not simple. It's not something that I can just hey, jump in and play this, blah, blah. It takes a lot of time. I had to sit down and do a lot of learning of all these tracks and the old album. And then having to go with that, mindset of being like, okay, I'm pushing myself, right? I had to push myself to find things that fit as well, things that kind of were me, but also mostly contributing to the songs. Because again, when it comes to music writing and stuff like that, for me, it's really about contributing to the song as a whole, as opposed to just being flashy, whatever. You know what I mean? Live show stuff is one thing. The music is more important.
Definitely. And so I kind of want all of you, three of you to elaborate on this question, because I love getting into the good old genre debate in a way. I love, because people get labeled things. They either embrace the hell out of it or they despise it with every fiber of their being. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people categorize Somnuri as sludge metal. So to you, what is sludge metal? Because I've seen so many bands get categorized as that. But I Hate God sounds completely different from a band like Neurosis, for example.
Yeah.
And Neurosis sounds very different from a band like Sleep. I guess you could categorize that. So going down the line, how do you define sludge metal?
I literally don't define sludge metal. I'd love to. But again, as you were saying, so many things are put in that category that it hardly means anything to me personally. I'm just what does that mean? Can you give me any other descriptor? Because sludge metal isn't helping.
Yeah.
It's not helping me figure out what it is that you sound like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sludge, it goes hand in hand with maybe not being a standard tuning. It's maybe a little lower.
You pretty much described, I think, maybe 10 million other bands as well. But
I would say, we checked that box. There hasn't been a label that's been thrown away that I've said that's completely wrong. I think we dabble in a little bit of enough that it's never wrong. I'm still waiting for that perfect describing adjective or whatever to steal and throw that on our website.
Yeah.
I think it is broad. I think it's broad on purpose, and it is more of a sound-related thing as opposed to what are the tropes in these tunes. To me, it's kind of like gent, right? It's describing a sound or maybe a sonic style, if you will. But yeah, I like that because it gives us the freedom to go into all these other subgenres of metal and not really feel beholden to that one. Same with like doom or stoner or any of those descriptions. Those are very broad as well, and I think, the final result is maybe a happy culmination of all those things. And yeah, so it's not important to fit into any of those genres, but we certainly embrace it all.
Yeah, I mean, every genre, like, there's always like a band that sounds nothing like it that gets labeled at that. Like, when people think of new metal, they think of Korn, then they think of Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park, but then they call Puddle of Mud new metal, and that sounds nothing like those other bands. Metalcore, 1 minute it's Killswitch Engage, and then the next minute it's Dance Gavin Dance. So
Right.
It almost seems like every new genre just spawns a subcategory of other genres and a subcategory of other genres, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. Now, I also want you all to elaborate on this question because you do. I love how Somnuri is able to embrace their inner long song. I think, the tracks are kind of easy to get lost into, and, really, I'm not, like, looking at it wondering when the song ends. So, going down the line now, starting with you, Bill. How do you know when a song is done?
Oh man, that's hard. Sometimes it goes all the way up until the wire, and that's a tough one because I do like bands that have super long songs, and I also like bands that keep it in the 2.5 to 3 minute range. So another thing I think we do, which is like, let's not overthink that kind of stuff and let the song happen, let it develop. I'm as the engineer of the band, I'm definitely always trying to pare it down and get it into this sweet spot, if you will. But that said, we're working on new tunes and they're in the 7 and 8 minute range, and you can't try to cut it off too early. You got to let it happen. So.
All right, fair enough. How do you know when a song's done?
When Phil says it's done.
All right, pass the mic.
It's not. Yeah, I think each song is completely different. It's not good because it's done. It's done because it's good. I think, there's so many things that we could be kind of just getting a song started and be like, shit, it's already 4 minutes. Like, we haven't even hit the verse yet. But I think we kind of leave that towards when we get an actual feel for the entirety of it. I think thinking about something like that, how long a song is from the very beginning, is just going to make the construction of the song that much harder and harder to wrap up. I think if we're it's better to take away than it is to add, and I think that's always been our thing, and I think that's something Phil's great at is, how necessary is this part? Are we just having parts for the sake of having it, or does it help the structure and the feel and the entirety of it?
Also how it fits into the album.
Right. So, again, every song is different, and yeah, it's a good problem to have, I think.
Yeah. Philippe, good luck following that.
No. So yeah, again, it's like, it's about the song. What's great about working with these guys is that it's about the song. It's about the individual song. It's about each track, and like, it's really great to be able to like take a song, move in one direction, move in another direction, but it still kind of all ties back in, right? So at the end of the day, like, a song is done when the feeling is done. You know what I mean? Like, you've told your story, whether it's emotionally, verbally, musically, whatever it is. We try to fit comparable and like really good amounts of, of styles and sways and grooves and fast parts and slow parts. We try to give the people that are listening a lot to hold on to, a lot to enjoy, because you know what I mean? It's like, to say it's a journey is cute, but it's a journey.
Yeah. Just because it's cute doesn't mean it's not true.
Oh,
Yeah.
feeling's over.
Yeah. Now, I have two more questions, and one of them is talking about like your live presence. Is there maybe something that you all channel into your live presence that makes it similar to songwriting, or do you almost consider songwriting and playing live two completely separate energies? I know you mentioned this, you touched upon this a little bit before, Philippe, but like...
Yeah, my live show is insane. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I basically like go into this weird black hole of just like, okay, there are people there. I am a person here. I need to play these songs right. Let me focus on that. Wait, no, I'm just moving around too much. I end up getting real crazy live, and it's a lot of fun because it's like, you know, I'll turn to the side and Justin's over there like whipping his hair everywhere, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is the part. And then we start like just, people almost think that, I've had people be like, hey, do you guys like work on your stage stuff? Because you guys are like headbanging at the same time. It's like, nah, dude, this is how it feels. Like, it feels right. You know what I mean? So I guess in some ways it is kind of like, it's kind of like piecing together a song. The performance comes with it. You know what I mean? Even just practicing in the practice space, like we'll be rocking out really hard to make sure that we get the whole song across, like every facet, visually and sonically, obviously. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stack ups with all of that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Every song has a different feel, and I think every time we play it kind of has a different feel too, you know. And I would say probably most of these songs we've played live at least once, but I think if we have played them so far, it's been few and far between, you know, because the whole world was shut down for a year. So, but it is kind of like, yeah, when we're at practice, it's and you're feeling it's kind of, I don't know, there's no control to how you're gonna feel about it, whether you're gonna lose your fucking mind, bang your head, stand there like a statue, you know what I mean? And anything's on the table. And I love going for it and feeling like you've broken your spine after the second song, but it's also kind of fun too to just stand there and take it all in and kind of let it happen and maybe observe other people too. I enjoy that.
Yeah. And Mr. Drummer, because you're behind the kit the whole time anyway, is it
Sorting mail.
Yeah.
I was once told I look like I'm sorting mail while I'm playing the drums, which I think means that I'm focused but relaxed. Yeah. I mean, I try to toe the line. Thank you. I like watching you guys play too. It's fun. It is a fine line of channeling the energy and rocking out and having fun and the perfect amount of self-indulgence or whatever. But it's also like staying poised and you know, you're entertaining people. You're playing a show for people who paid to see you. So, you know, making it as good as you can. And I try to go and get in the zone before. I try to treat it like a title fight or something. Like get in the mindset of like, let's get this done and have a good time doing it.
Yeah. Well, hey, no room for improv on your part. Your drummer sucks. Your band sucks. So, you know, no pressure.
Yeah.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is as I ask every New York City-based band is, you know, we're hopefully, you know, I'm knocking on all the wood right now, but like, you know, it looks like we're slowly working our way out of these difficult times. You know, shows are going to be happening again. What is your take on the New York City scene before this pandemic? Do you think that it's going to maybe rise up again from the ashes, or do you think that there is some more stuff that we as a scene should work on in the future?
I think it's certainly going to rise up. I mean, you know, there was a lot of people I talked to while this whole thing was going down, and you know, a lot of naysaying and just, you know, oh, it's never going to be the same. I'm moving, this, that. It's like, I don't know. I'd like to think we all have more resolve than that, and especially as a scene. And you're going to see changes, and there's certainly businesses and venues that were affected negatively. You know, it's unavoidable, but it's going to rise up, and it's already coming back, I think, in full force. And now that the restrictions are lifted here, there's no reason why I shouldn't be having shows. And all the bands and fans and people need to support each other. Go out to shows again. You know, everyone bitched about there not being shows for a year, but will those people go to the shows now? You know, that's always the question.
Only if they get on the guest list.
Exactly. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, you can have my drink tickets. Just show up to the fucking show. No, I think New York was on a really good trajectory right before everything happened. I think there was, you know, the last two shows we played were both venues we had never played, Venus and Furs and Market Hotel, and both were very different from each other, but both very rad in their own regards. And I'd like to see the city do something, you know, realizing what a difference it is not having live music and what it does to the morale and just the entire vibe of the city for a year. To not have that, I feel like the city's got to step up and allocate some space, funding, something to let people do shows outside, lift, let people do shows, shut down an intersection, give them a parking lot, something where people, maybe aren't having to be crammed in a small club if we're not feeling it. Let's not.
Have you seen Tompkins Square Park recently?
I heard about that. There was what was it, a Kids Bop show or something, right? No, I think
He
it's
said
great.
it, not me.
I think it's great. You should go and do these things if you feel safe about it. But I think that the people that are responsible for doling out fines and putting restrictions on things should have some responsibility to help people and give them a way out to do things where you don't have to be in a 75 capacity club or something. Give us a chance to do something on the street and not feel like they're ostracized from the community for doing that.
Yeah.
Let people feel safe about going forward, and one step at a time. Let's do it right. Let's get it right and fucking shred all summer long.
Yeah.
Very into that. I want to shred all summer long. So New York City is not just a resilient city, right? It's literally a phoenix. Every time anything terrible happens, city burns to the ground, and then it comes out of the ashes fucking hotter than ever every single time. So, like, hot take, the scene was getting a little cold right before the pandemic. Just a lot of people standing around almost not enjoying music. You know what I mean? From what I've seen recently, I've gone to a couple of shows, people are going nuts. They're going ape shit at any show they can get their hands on. People are just hungry for it, you know what I mean? So, like, the scene's gonna be great. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, new venues are opening up.
Yeah, new venues. We got, new bands, more people. I mean, there's a lot of great bands that came out of this pandemic, oddly enough.
Yeah, I know. I can only imagine how many bands were writing during this, and who wants to bet how many times we're going to hear at every show, this song is about the pandemic.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to the subgenre thing, pandemic metal, it's going to be a thing. Just mark my words.
Alone in my room.
So before we go, I want to thank you all so much for your time today.
Dude, thanks for having us, man.
Anytime. It's the beautiful day for an interview on the roof.
So
is there just anything else with Somnuri that you would like to promote with the release of Nefarious Wave? Like, are there any shows that are announced that you're allowed to talk about, or anything else you'd like to plug?
We're hanging on a couple things. Hopefully we'll be able to move forward on those soon. And, as of now, I mean, Somnuri, Nefarious Wave, Blues Funeral. Pick it up. Yep. Looking to come to a city near you. And we're going to stay in your basement.
Awesome.
It's going to be great.
Awesome. Bringing back the basement sludge shows.
Slow.
Coming to a basement near you, and we will destroy it.
Absolutely.
Everybody, we are here with Somnuri. Be sure to pick up Nefarious Wave. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.